It does ask the question, I guess, was this just an off 5 game span for Lester Quinones, or as we look at these things from a Warrior perspective, is there a greater cause for concern moving forward? And I think that it's really important to state that this is primarily an off 5 game span, like him shooting the ball at 27% from the floor and 15% from 3-point range. I think that is just an off 5 game span. I don't think that for him, the major strides that he's taken over the last 12 months from where he started, going undrafted to where he started in the G League to going to a level where he was eventually named the G League's most improved player for last season. And then what he was able to do in the Summer League, averaging over 21 points per game. Yes, the shooting numbers weren't great there either, but he did have to take a heavy workload for the Warriors in Summer League. So I think when you look at those two things and the kind of strides that he's taken in the last 12 months, I think it's unfair. It would be completely unfair just to discard what he's done in the last 12 months based on one disappointing tournament that we've seen here in the World Cup. However, what I will say is it does pose a question of how well he can play in a lesser role, because what we saw in this World Cup was completely different to what we'd seen with the Warriors in the G League program in Santa Cruz and in Las Vegas in Summer League as well, where in those two, in that kind of setup, Lester Quinones is probably the main guy, or one of the main guys kind of thing. And he doesn't have to play next to all-star level talent around him. Now, for a lot of players, that can be a good thing. You can play off the all-star level talent. You get better looks, which can increase your field goal percentages. I think that might be the case for Brandon Pajemski, who obviously struggled a little bit in Summer League with his shooting numbers. I do think that coming into the Warrior system, playing against experienced NBA talent, your Steph Currys, your Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, whoever, I do think that Brandon Pajemski's shooting numbers will actually be better at NBA level than what they were in Summer League. But it can go the other way as well, where your numbers can be amplified by the fact you have got a greater role against, in a lesser team against lesser opposition. And clearly coming into this tournament with, for the Dominican Republic, their best player being, an all-star level player in Karl-Anthony Towns, I do think that there was a little bit of an issue there of Lester Quinones going from being the main guy on basically every team he's played for, the Warriors, in the last 6 to 12 months, to going into a team where he wasn't the main banana anymore and he had to play off Cat a little bit. And that can be hard. That can be a hard adjustment for some players. And that, as I said before, it doesn't necessarily translate to better shooting numbers. You could think, well, he's playing against Cat. Cat will get double teamed. Maybe he'll get some open looks on the perimeter. He can knock them down. Maybe he can be a 40% three-point shooter in this tournament. Well, that just wasn't the case, unfortunately, as much as we would have liked it to be. And of course, we're looking at this from a Warrior perspective going into next season. He's going to be a two-way contracted player. But with the age of Steph Curry and Chris Paul, 35 and 38 respectively, he's going to get some looks here to play decent minutes. And I do wonder how that's going to pan out playing alongside the likes of Steph and or CP. I guess if one of those two guys is out on a nightly basis, then potentially Lester gets an opportunity some nights. So how is he going to go playing alongside those guys, playing alongside a Klay Thompson, playing alongside a Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, guys that he's really going to be, out of a 5-man unit, he's going to be the 5th player on the floor, really. So it does this tournament has posed the question in that regard, because he's not going to be able to go into the Warrior setup and Steve Kerr give him the ball and able to do whatever he wants, like he's been able to do in the G League with Santa Cruz and with the Warriors in Summer League, where, as I say, he was the main guy, right? He could take on most of the offensive workload.